talking to Michelle Newton. Michelle is the International Benefits Transition Leader at GE Corporate, the American multinational conglomerate employing over 90,000 employees. She's worked there for 15 years and currently heads up their pension, benefits, rewards, and well-being programs globally. At the same time, she is unpicking and separating out their benefits arrangements as GE simplifies and splits into three public companies. Michelle actively promotes a balanced work life and positive mental health and is a well-being ambassador. In her spare time, she is a long-distance runner and chair of the popular Selby Striders Running Club in North Yorkshire. Welcome to the business of being brilliant, Michelle.
Thanks, Helen.
It's great to have you with us. Have you been out running today already?
I have this morning, so I like to get it done before the day starts. So yes, I'm ready to go now.
Yeah, fantastic. And how would you, to get us started, how would you describe yourself, or how would others describe you? Can you give us three words that give listeners a feel for who you are in your work life and at home?
Yeah, so this was a good one. I actually went kind of and asked colleagues and friends what they would say, because it's always difficult to kind of put your own spin on what you would say as yourself. And there was a really common theme across all of them, so professional and personal. So I'll use those three words. So the words that came to the table were that I was enthusiastic, so in terms of my approach and my language and body language. That I'm really curious, so I'm taking it as a compliment in that I'm not nosy, but I just like to ask questions about things, and that I'm inclusive, so I like to make sure that everyone is involved, or those that want to be involved can be. So I thought they were really good three words, and when I reflected back on them, felt they were actually true to my personality and probably my leadership styles too.
That's great to hear. Thank you. And as I mentioned in the introduction, you've obviously been working at GE for a long stretch of your career, and no doubt you've had lots of different work experiences and roles within that. When you think back about your career so far, when was there a time when you felt you have particularly flourished, and if so, why was that? Or what helps you generally to flourish at work?
Yeah, so within 15 years of GE, there's probably been multiple different stages, but the one that I suppose that I recall more granular in terms of what really has pushed me in terms of my career and probably personal life is a project that I was asked to lead in terms of a secondment. So this was a global project, and the colleague that was running it, the project manager, was going on maternity leave. So this had huge exposure and outside and inside GE, and the lady that was leading it was hugely influential in leadership, so it felt like huge shoes to fill, and quite a lot of exposure as well. So there's a lot of risk in terms of, if you step up, are you able to fit those shoes? So it was kind of a daunting concept. I was very flattered to be asked, but also very nervous about stepping into it. So I did. I had great kind of support and mentoring through that role. But during that 18 months, I had the opportunity really to kind of develop myself by learning in the job, and people investing their own time in helping me do that. So out of the 15 years of GE, I think that 18 months is probably the one that has stretched me most in terms of, educational and development wise. So that was a really good reflection period for me to say, where did I flourish? And then when the project had come to a close and the lady had come back from her maternity leave, the feedback was, when I went back to my own team, how they had noticed changes within my behaviour and leadership style, which were all positives. So before, it kind of been, oh, well, this could have been a development need, or this is maybe something you work on. Being outside of my comfort zone and having the opportunity to kind of just go with what I felt was needed offers benefits now back in with my own teams. So that was a huge opportunity, and that's where I've had really good feedback, that I flourished and been able to bring positives back into our team too.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear. And I love the way you've thought about not just what helped you to grow and stretch, but actually flourishing also mean what you can bring and offer to others that you work with and perhaps you manage as well. That's a a really thoughtful take on it. And did you have that role in mind for yourself, or were you quite surprised when they asked you to take it on? Did you have that kind of oh help moment? I don't know if I can do
Yeah,
this.
exactly that. So as part of the project team, I actually reported into the lady who was running the project. So I was kind of support. So it kind of came as one of those, are you sure you've asked the right person? You know, I'm kind of reporting into you and now you want me to lead this huge project. So it was kind of one of those, can I do this moments? And I was really fortunate. The lady, she was a good mentor. She kind of reassured me that I wasn't going to be on my own and that there would be support and again the development opportunities from it. So no, I was really fortunate, and I was lucky, really brave enough to take that step, because I suppose everyone likes to be within their comfort zone. It would have maybe been easier to say no, I'm okay, thanks. I'll stick to what I know and maybe hire in a consultant or see if somebody else could do it. So no, I was quite pleased that I did. I was
Yeah.
brave enough and felt comfortable to step up to that role.
Yeah, that's great, and great that you felt you had the support around you to
Absolutely.
to have a confident go at it and to really grow into it. Has there ever been a particular piece of advice that's helped you in your career that you've hung on to and come back to?
Yeah, so again, probably linking back to the last probably 3 to 4 years, GE is always a moving organisation. There is no day that is the same, and it's being able to embrace that change. So you have to be very fluid to it, and to, I suppose, people relate to your emotional intelligence when a change comes. How does that affect? So I think my new kind of approach to that is to embrace the unknown and almost embrace red. So we use red in terms of something is scary or breaking, but it's not a case of that. Actually, red could be the new challenge in terms of what adventure is ahead. So I think I've had good mentoring again and good learning in terms of how to deal with change management and how to allow that kind of period of adjustment to happen, which I think is hugely valuable within GE.
Yeah, it sounds like part of that's about just getting comfortable with discomfort and with
Yes,
uncertainty and
absolutely.
trying to be curious about it instead of leaping to the negative thoughts or, or letting your fears overrule what you might plan to do.
Yeah, and it's a behaviour that doesn't come easily. We're all human at the end of the day. When change comes, we all have to absorb, how does this impact me personally, and how is this going to affect kind of your own lifestyle? So it's being able to tweak your mindset as to, as you say, looking more at the positives. And I embrace that in GE now. I actually thrive on the change and the challenge culture, because no day is the same, but what we're trying to achieve is for organization or employee kind of gains. So it's again, it's a continuous journey. It's never one that will always be completed, but I think that is one of the key things that we'll continue to work
Yeah.
on.
And I know from personal experience, but also talking to lots of other people in positions of leadership and responsible for influencing change, that, when change is a constant, it can feel quite wearing. Obviously, looking after ourselves is important, and having the right support networks around us. Has there ever been a time that you've looked back and thought that was a really tough time, professionally for you, where things felt really hard going? And if there was, what helped you move forward from that positively?
Yeah, so again, it's probably linking back to the change culture and environment. So, on a personal level, as I say, my 3 words, being enthusiastic and curious. To some people, that can be kind of almost not overpowering, but kind of like 100 miles an hour. So I had gone into one role, and the leadership style ahead of me was completely different. It was very corporate, very quiet, and almost a safe environment. You don't say anything outside the room unless it's agreed on. So I changed my behaviour and leadership style to kind of match that of the leadership that I was following. And I seemed to lose a little bit of my personality and productivity because I was too concerned around trying to mirror what the other leadership team were doing. So again, that kind of had a bit of a detriment to me because I was too busy on trying to be something that I probably wasn't going to be, and lost a bit of my personality and character along the way. So again, it was having feedback from people around me to kind of give me that insight to say, you need to be you, rather than, yeah, we're a GE corporate, but actually we all are unique in what we can deliver. So that was kind of a challenging time, because I always, because I wanted to demonstrate to the leadership team that I was on board, I fitted in with the organisation and the role at the time, but actually I was just slightly different in the way that I would do things. So that was kind of a challenging time, because I didn't want to demonstrate that I was almost like a trouble causer, or going off rail a little bit, but it was trying to influence them that actually people can have different kind of leadership behaviours but still deliver, and actually that creativity can bring different things to the table.
And also what you said about earlier on about wanting to fit in and fit the mold, and kind of being and almost trying to change your natural style of leading and working to fit in. That's something that comes up so much in conversations with people, and I know anyone that might, for all sorts of different reasons, might feel that they're slightly outside of the mold, or have a few different aspects to the way they work or the way they think about things. I think that comment will resonate a lot with people who feel like, well, I do things slightly differently, or I think about things slightly differently. But it's so true to kind of be attentive to that, but not lose sight of your own way, which is really, the value, a big part of the value you bring, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, I would agree.
Yeah. So moving on to get a little bit into the topic of the business book of mine that's coming out, The Future of Time, which is all about how we think about time and how we collectively manage our time at work to help us be more productive and healthier, and to help people from all sorts of different backgrounds and life situations to flourish in their careers. Time at work can be a real challenge. I mean, we live in an age of 24/7 business, email overload, lots of short-term deadlines, etc., and very long working hours. Can I ask, how do you organize your time at work? You have a big role, big global role, no doubt team members scattered around the globe. You find time for your running and for chairing the Selby Striders, which I'm sure is quite a commitment in itself. What are the time habits that work for you, and where do things fall over time-wise as well?
Yeah. So again, because of my personal and my professional life, I tend to be everywhere, like at the same time. So a running joke within GE and also my personal life is that on Harry Potter, Hermione has a little watch where she makes her go in two places, and everyone's like, "Do you have one of those watches? Because you seem to be everywhere at the same time." And I was like, "I really wish I did, but no." So in terms of how I structure, and again, this would apply to GE and also my personal life, is that I am hugely organised, probably bordering on the line of like too obsessive with it, but I diarise everything. So everyone knows within GE and also my family what I'm doing. So I will block out time, and I do that. I tend to do it on a Sunday for the following week. I will tend to kind of structure, okay, what's going on in my working world, to how that's going to happen in my family life. I'm hugely fortunate that G is a massive fan of flexible working. So I do have that added advantage that I can probably balance both of those styles together. But I'm quite selfish with my time. So if I have a meeting invite through work, I will ask what the agenda is, what the objective is from me. I'm not a fan of calls if they are like 1 hour. I'll kind of challenge, can we make that 45 minutes? Because everybody's diary seems to be back-to-back calls, and you cannot go from one call to the other and have that focus on your next call. So I always challenge, can we cut this down to 45 minutes so I have 15 minutes to digest maybe before a next call, or just have a bit of a break. I also try and avoid calls on a Friday. And again, this is becoming kind of a GE policy, well, kind of guidance to suggest if you can avoid calls on Friday, then do, because every call has an action. And what we don't want is to go into the weekend thinking, all right, I've got to deliver this for Monday or next week. So Friday is my opportunity to kind of prepare for the following week, to say, okay, what admin or projects or what have I got to get ready for the week, so I can focus purely on planning ahead and how I'm going to use my time. And then I know, again, with my personality, I'm a morning person. That's when you're going to get the best out of me, probably from the hours of 6 till 12. That's my flourish time. So I plan my calls that I know I'm going to have to really be on the money for and focus. Then if I have to do speaking or, presenting, that's ideally when I would like to do it, subject to time zones. And then towards the afternoon, if there are other calls, I tend to try and make them where I'm listen only, or seminars where I'm dialing in. So again, paying attention, but not too much. I know that there tends to be kind of my sluggish zones are between probably 2 and 4. So I'm fully aware of how I work like that. So I think it's helpful if everybody else kind of could have that concept to say, actually, yeah, I'm a morning or an afternoon or an evening person. And I think that definitely helps with you managing your day and how you can deliver things more efficiently.
Yeah, definitely. Those are such interesting things to hear you talk about. And I completely agree about, kind of reserving the important work or the difficult work for your peak energy hours, whenever that is. And it doesn't always perfectly coincide with other people that you might need to be collaborating with. But as a general rule, it's a great way of thinking ahead and planning your day. And when you talk about kind of scheduling your time in advance, both your work time and your home time, do you schedule in downtime and rest time as well? I'm always curious about that.
Yeah, so again, I block my diary out every day, usually from around 12 till 1:30, and that opportunity is to walk my dogs selfishly, and I'm very transparent around it. That's when I'll have my lunch and walk my dogs. So again, if there's a major call or meeting, then obviously that will get prioritised, but I block my calendar out every day, and encourage, other GE colleagues to do the same. And my people leader is also an advocate of doing that. She was one that encouraged us to do that, to make sure that we step away. Because as you say, at the moment, everyone is 24/7, especially with home working. It's finding that balance that you could find you're logging on at 7 in the morning before school run or work starts, and then it's 9 o'clock at night before you've actually stepped away. So I absolutely block that time out and it reminds me as well, I'll be sat there and it'll pop up on my calendar like 12, because sometimes you get wrapped up in the day and it's like, oh, okay, right, let's just down tools and have an hour out. So I do definitely block out time.
Yeah, that's great. I know some people say, oh, it's easier to do that when you're in a more senior position because you have more control over your time, and to a certain degree that might be true. But it's good, really encouraging to hear, you say you recommend that to others that you work with, and that your boss is recommending that to you, because that's how we can collectively encourage ourselves to adopt healthier time habits, is by setting really positive examples and actively encouraging people to do some of these things, step away from the computer at times that work for them. So it sounds like you have quite a lot of conversations about that at GE, which is
Yeah,
great.
yeah. And I think it links back to probably the well-being side that I'm hugely passionate about, is that I think people do need to have that balance, and completely understand that those that are either customer facing or manufacturing and don't have that luxury have to be within kind of a face-to-face role. I think there are still opportunities for them to be able to have that kind of downtime. So it's how they use their breaks or their lunch breaks. Sometimes people will just continue, or they'll sit on their phone or something. It's like, how could you use that time a bit more productively rather than just kind of being stuck in the same, office or factory? And there are ways that you could break it up.
Yeah, sure. Is there a particular change that you're working on in your organization that really helps people to manage all of that, to keep manageable, sustainable, productive working time?
Yeah, so COVID forced everyone's hand to effectively, work from home, which for GE was a huge learning because, as you say, senior leaders would work from home, but call centres, manufacturing would be office based. You'd had to be seen to be working. So that really changed our culture, really. Some people had never worked from home before. So it was a complete transformation for them too. And as you say, there was those that felt that they needed to be on all day, every day to demonstrate productivity. So it was a case of educating to say, actually, you don't have to be online 24/7 to demonstrate that you're working. If actually it's anything, it's going to be burnout and you're going to be making mistakes and tiredness. So we had a top-down approach. We had a campaign called it's Health Ahead. So effectively, it's a wellbeing program. And what we did is we asked our senior leadership, so this is hugely up the GE chain, to demonstrate how they were working with their days. And it's almost giving people blessing that they could go ahead and kind of work within their normal times while they were in a home environment or they were doing a change of working patterns, because we had to demonstrate if the leadership team was on board, then actually it must be okay. So I think it was more a cultural change, especially for some of our employee profiling. We're predominantly male, 50-year-old average range. So again, the work ethic of our employees were that you have to work, regardless of how or when. So it was a cultural change in how to manage time and how to work efficiently. So it's still going to be an ongoing campaign, but we do stuff every month now to give hints and tips to say, have you had your lunch break today? And then we'll do little challenges like, who can walk around the office the most in terms of step challenges. And then we have the other side, signposting for those that feel that they need support because maybe, unfortunately, they've gone over that threshold and that they are at burnout. And then going forward, it's looking at this new world. So like all organisations, we're looking at our real estate. People are working from home. Is there now an opportunity for us to say, do people need to be in an office? Is that essential? And the feedback we're hearing is actually, yes, some employees like to step out of the home to go to an office because it separates that for them. And that's perfect and wonderful. So we're looking at different policies to say, if you want an office, there's an office for you. But if you're still slightly nervous or you've actually got used to this home working, there's also that possibility for you to work kind of hybrid. So it's a learning curve for us in GE because we have different cultures and global scale, but we are looking to, I suppose, promote the positives of how to work and work efficiently using the time that they have.
Yeah, that's all really good to hear, and interesting that you're approaching it with quite an experimental mindset as an organisation, and having the dialogue with people about what some of the possibilities are, like the direction you're moving in, but also not saying it's going to be one size fits all and this is going to be the policy everywhere. It sounds like it's going to be a lot more tailored than that.
It's very fluid, as I say, within GE, because we have our 5 key businesses, and globally and culturally across the world, everyone within each region is different in terms of their behaviours. So it'd be hugely difficult for us to say one size fits all. We just can't do that in GE. So we have to kind of tweak what's right for our businesses and our leaders. And again, productivity. So I think it will always be a moving policy or guidance. And I think the key thing is that we just have our leadership demonstrating how they use it so the employees can see actually, okay, that's how it's working for them. So if it is a change completely, then they feel that they've got that kind of good faith that they can use that as well.
Yeah, and I guess there's probably a big piece of work in there about educating and supporting line managers, people who manage teams, so that they know, what the options are and how much flexibility they have to decide different arrangements, what they can say yes to, what they, need to bear in mind. Is that a big piece of the kind of change that you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, because again, at the end of the day, productivity and GE has to deliver on what we're doing. If we're building aeroplane engines or hospital equipment, we still have to deliver. So as you say, our people leaders who have teams of 30, 40 people, if they all have them saying, I all want to work from home, it clearly isn't going to work. So there is a huge, I suppose, delegation and responsibility that will fall to our people leaders. So with our HR colleagues, we'll start offering them that support. But again, in the interest of transparency, we say to them, we don't have all the rules at the moment. We're just offering, like you say, almost like pilots. Let's see what works for our employees and our businesses and see what actually the employees want, because we may find that we're creating something that actually none of the employees want. They're happy just to continue as they were before COVID. So it's actually, let's not build something that might not necessarily be needed. So it's kind of done on a business level, but absolutely we'll continue to support the people leaders, because it's a huge change, as you say, Helen, in terms of saying, you know, I've now got 30 people that want to all work independently. How do I do that? And actually, I'm just employed to make aeroplane engines. I was never designed or, you know, recruited to do this. So again, it is a change in kind of leadership style for them too.
Yeah, that's fascinating to hear about. And just coming towards the end of our chat, is there a particular resource, a book or a video or a podcast or publication that you would recommend to listeners or viewers if they're watching the video that you find reliably satisfies your curiosity and teaches you stuff?
Yeah, so I was looking at all the, I suppose the ones I've read, and they were all kind of the traditional ones that probably everybody has read. So, you know, change management and all that. But there's one that I got recommended recently, probably about 6 weeks ago, and it's called Why Put a Bow Tie on a Llama? So it's a book, and it was by, I think it's Celia Gaze. And effectively, it's about an NHS senior leader. She was a director, and she just had a complete career change. So she wanted to, she had a farm that was broken down, but she was very passionate about well-being. So she was thinking, how could she put these two together? So her book kind of demonstrates how any crazy idea could be put together to make a sustainable business. So I think because of my personality of being kind of slightly curious, and the title alone, you know, was really interesting and quite fun. But her book was really insightful. So if anyone is looking at a career change, or actually they have a crazy idea, they think, oh, this will never take off. She goes through kind of almost like an informal business plan within the book, but she makes it fun. And she also relates it back to how she puts it in with her personal family life, so she gets her family involved in things. So that's that was a really refreshing read, rather than some of the old school books where they go through different processes and hierarchy of needs and all that good stuff.
Oh, that's a great recommendation. Thank you. I had heard the title. I haven't read it, but so you've reminded me to look it up. And I've just embarked on a challenge of reading 50 books this year, so roughly a book a week, a mix of business, nonfiction, and some contemporary fiction. So I'm hoovering up recommendations for filling my next 48 weeks of reading. So thank you. I'm definitely interested in that one. Yeah. And how can listeners connect with you after the podcast if they're keen to, get in touch professionally?
You can find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best route.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, it's been such a pleasure talking with you today about your career and about all the wonderful work you're doing at GE, and so interesting to hear how, as an organization and a team, you're rising to the challenges that today's world of work present us. And good luck with it all. And thanks so much for sharing your advice and reflections with everyone today.
Thank you, Helen. It's been great. Thank you.